So you need to make a fantasy village, but you want to make it memorable. Well, you have come to the right place because we're going to go over a formulaic method that will allow you to mass produce villages, but also keep each one unique. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, when looking to create a village, I divide the work up into 5 categories: environment, traits, characters, services, and quests. Environment is the first thing to consider, and it's simply where is your town. Consider its location, and as such, what resources might be readily available to it. Towns do usually settle by rivers and sources of water, so whether it's naturally or magically, just think about how they sustain their life. Simply thinking about how a village gets their food, medicine, and economy could open up a creative fantasy solution that gives it a unique flair. Consider about giving your environment a magical space as well. For example, a town built inside a massive tree trunk or on a floating island, or perhaps it's under the ribcage of a massive monster that once roamed the lands. The last thing to consider with the environment is weather. Is it stable and consistent, or chaotic and magical? This is a great aspect that can sharpen the description of your village. All of these come together to form a skeleton structure of environmental storytelling. Describing the architecture of the buildings, the nature of the weather, and the daily lives that people live is the best way to bring your village to life. Now, after each of these sections where I give you a description of what it's about, I'm going to give you a set of examples to kind of help illustrate it. So, set of examples for this one. A collection of tree houses within a forest that have bridges that connect to each tree. A village in a cave that is found behind a waterfall. A massive creature that holds the village on its back. Imagine a village that's literally built on an iceberg that roams around frigid waters. Or it could just be built in a forest where fruits and vegetables are 10 times bigger than normal, giving it a bit of a goofy Dr. Seuss feel. Once you've considered the environment of the town, the next part is the trait. This is pretty much what is the funny or serious aspect of the town that makes it unique. It's essentially its most important part. A trait can be a particular method of greeting the town uses, a specific architecture, or even a hub for particular classes. The trait is going to be the main representation of culture in your village. Set of example for traits are a town where they elect a new mayor every week, and so they're constantly holding elections. Or maybe it's a town where names are switched around every day, so the players have to navigate who's who. Could be a town where someone is killed and a doppelganger takes their place. A town where it houses a massive temple for a specific religion, so a paladin or cleric might specifically want to go there. Maybe it's a town that has no children, and that could be quite the mystery for it. Or it could even be a town that bans magic, and so any spells being casted either have to be hidden or face the repercussions of the law. The next part is characters, and once you've mixed a theme and an environment, you can create characters reflective of it. This allows them to become much more complex, as they are conditions that can influence their ambitions, their interests, their hobbies, their worries, and their fears. Now, making NPCs is going to be a video in itself, but consider the different roles a town has and make characters accordingly. Now, a trick I like to do is roll 1d4, and whatever number appears decides how many expert characters reside in that town. What I mean by this is that these are characters that either have incredibly valuable information or a particular skill. Now, if it's a bigger town, you can increase it to 1d6. If it's a much bigger, 1d8, according to whatever you want, based on the skill that you're trying to go for. Whether it's a retired wizard or a masterful tailor, you can use these NPCs as great magnets to attract your players to the town. For example, if a player is trying to get a specific magical scarf made, they could hear about the tailor from another town, and as such now have this quest to go locate them, find them, and get that sort of trade going. Now, something important about characters with towns is that they are often the reason your town is loved or hated. When it comes to D&D players, they are rarely interested in the actual buildings, but rather the characters in them. If your party falls in love with an NPC and learns they have a debt problem, they will kidnap and intimidate whoever they need to solve it. The point is that establishing well thought of characters will heighten all other aspects of your town. Now let's go ahead and give a set of examples, and this is pretty much the fun part with DMing, is coming up with some characters. Something like Sir Gator Raid, a lizard folk alchemist seeking to invent the next greatest drink. He speaks very quickly and nervously as his rent is coming up, and unless he comes up with something in his concoction, he will be evicted. Or perhaps something like Greg the Guard, Greg is a guard who sweet talks any adventure party and makes them believe that they are his favorite group. He can be found in a tavern talking you up, giving you what you would think is a close relationship, only for the party to later discover that he's doing it to the next party that comes to town as well. And on a more serious note, we have Elrond Pencrest, an inspiring writer that owns a bookstore. Mr. Pencrest loves to hear the tales of adventures, to take inspiration and write stories about them. Perhaps he would pay or give free shelter to the party so long as they tell him their story on a campfire. Now, this one is pretty short and sweet, but it's absolutely a vital point, and that is services or shops that the town provides. Anytime I have seen a DM actually describe the variety of stores we see when walking in the town, I'm immediately immersed, impressed, and ready to go. Give yourself at least 5 stores that are uniquely named for players to have those shopping moments, and on a larger scale, consider what are the main special services that the town provides to the world. By special, I do mean services that aren't provided in any other location, and as such is a reason for a player to seek out this town. Whether it's information from a particular NPC, materials from the local environment, or an artisan craft from a worker that works in the place. This could all be something to attract a special kind of flair into your village overall. Now, a set of examples of some stores I have written before and I've seen players love is something like Writers Not Fighters, or Scrolls by Trolls, Hats and Pats, Hearthfire Inn, Savory Spices, or Harley's Sweets. The point is, come up with a catchy, intriguing name that can give a variety of different stores, not just your average general goods store, your blacksmith. You're obviously going to have those, but think of other things as well. Now we get to the last part, the quest. This is pretty much what are your players intended to do here. The best way to design a town to be memorable is to give it opportunities for adventures, and that could be as fun as decorating the town for a festival, or as tense as delving into a dungeon nearby. The point is to make sure that you don't put only one quest, but instead have a variety of quests, where some may even conflict with each other. This way the town has problems that the players are given the opportunity to solve, or choose to ignore it. Now, when designing your quest, I leave it as the last step because it should absolutely reflect the previous 4 steps that you have just done. Have your quest be reflective of the environment, to instill the traits, and to overall help or destroy the characters that reside within it. Now, it is D&D, so there's an unlimited possibility of quests that you can find online, that you can make, that you can jump into our streams or Discord to see. But here are some examples. A festival, like I said earlier, is being held, and a series of small but humorous quests are offered to the players as they help set up for it. Or perhaps a black gel-like substance has tainted the well, and it's causing villagers to get sick and weak. Perhaps as the party is going about their business, a building within the village is set on fire, and a rescue is immediately called. The other village claims they have better talent, and a series of competitions are held, and the players can represent either town, whichever one they like more. Or perhaps the guards are searching for a druid who committed murder, and they're disguised as an animal within the village, and the players are tasked with finding them. Villages can be much more than just a forgettable stop. As the DM, you are the writer of the universe, and taking the time to make them fun and unique sharpens the immersion of your world. While there is always more stuff to add into any village, as long as you cover these categories, you will be able to showcase a great village to your players. So, with that, grab a nice cup of coffee and get writing. See you on the next one.